Hi everyone, it's Jerry. In anticipation of the 2023 World Chess Championship match, I thought we can have a look at a game between the two competitors, Liren and Jan Nepomniachtchi. Carlsen not defending his title. That's why we're going to be having these two competing beginning April 9th, Game 1. The game I'm featuring is from the 2020-2021 Candidates Tournament. That event was broken up because of COVID. This game is very high level. Liren playing at a 98% accuracy. He has the white pieces in this one, playing in Anti-Grünfeld. Just a few words about this upcoming championship. For me, it definitely has a totally different feel to it, not having, the world's #1 ranked player competing, defending his title. We have the world #2 and 3 competing. But the chess itself, the opening phase of this match, I think is going to be different. And by that I mean, I think we're maybe going to be in for some deep theoretical discussions, whereas when Carlsen was in there, he was more of the type to shy away from that and just try and get some playable position and try to grind his opponent from there. In any case, this game here in Anti-Grünfeld is allowing white to do what? Establish a strong pawn in black's house on this move 5. So far, though, with white's play, it's only been pawn moves, so this is one of those proceed with caution. It is not without its drawbacks to play in this way. The main drawback I'm seeing is, well, where's the piece development? And also we have this gap on d4. That's a big hole. Has a support point. This is a square black is quick to make use of. And in this game, Nepomniachtchi is quick to deploy his pieces in an aggressive fashion. And white really has to proceed with caution and be accurate with how exactly to repel this early attack. It's a 35 mover. But this early stage, the first 12 up to 17 moves, it's very, very tense. Okay. From here, d6, bishop d3, bishop g7, knight e2. Some clarification in the center. White follows the general rule, taking towards the center. Maintains the 2-1 majority. I pointed out a weak square in white's camp, d4. A weak square for black is d6. So if white can try and put pressure on that, that would be ideal. Putting pressure on d6 would mean what exactly? It would mean black would have to defend that point with a piece, and that piece would, as a result, be inconvenienced. Okay. From here, knight b to d7. Knight e to c3. So when you see this move, at first, you may, in a way, scratch your head. Why is the king knight taking a second step and going to c3? And isn't that taking away this square from the queen knight? Well, in order to maybe make a little bit more sense of this decision, we could kind of look at that d6 square and say to ourselves, oh, maybe the queen knight wants to put pressure on d6. So moves like this or like that, one way or another, the queen knight trying to get into c4 is desirable. Okay. From here, we have a6. This cuts out any knight to b5 thoughts white might have. That may have been right around the corner, something like knight b5, bishop to f4, or maybe switching the order. In any event, a6 is cutting out. Knight to b5, as well as prepping b5. If b5 is allowed, then the stability of these two would be in question, so white says no way, cutting this move out altogether. From here, knight to h5. Notice black is not playing robotically. He's not saying, it's the opening, I'm supposed to castle. No. He's immediately opening up the queen's eyes. He's looking at queen h4, check. He's looking at possibly bishop d4. Both of these moves hit. white castles while he still can. You'll notice, instead of this move, if black said, it's the opening, let me just castle. After castles knight h4 in this position, the knight could immediately be kicked back. Okay, maybe this move is flicked in first, but soon this knight is going to have to retreat. By playing this right now, there is no time for g4 because queen h4 would hit. So timing is important. Castles, bishop d4 check, king h1 living on the edge. It's nearly mate. It's in this position right here. Black would really like to have this h-pawn, this h7 pawn on h4. And white would be getting mated with knight g3, chop, chop, discovered check, and mate. Okay, we're not quite there, but these mating ideas are right around the corner. These pieces are swarming in to white's camp, and this is always really scary. Whenever you have a case here where the bishop is controlling g1, and your king is in the corner, you run the risk of these side file mates, as I highlighted here with the pawn on h4. These little tricks. Okay. From here we have knight e5. If the queen played to h4 straight away, it's threatening mate 1, right, taking advantage of the pinned h2 pawn. Now, if this move is played right now, white could react by offering an exchange of queens, and if white gets the queens off, there's not going to be this fear of getting mated anymore, and white's mentality or mindset could really start to shift more positionally and think about, how can I put pressure on d6? I don't have to worry about my king getting mated, so I could go in for these ideas, put pressure on the weak point. The best that black could do here in the computer's eyes is to go ahead and exchange queens, but again, this exchanging queens is going to favor white, so not so quick. In this game, it's knight e5, giving the queen a responsibility. From here, knight e2, challenging what is probably the best piece, the bishop on d4. This knight, by the way, is getting quite the workout. It went to e2, c3, and now it is back to e2, but with a big purpose here. That is really a strong piece. So from here, queen h4, knight takes bishop, and now in the game we have knight takes bishop. So with this sequence, black has an eye on winning the exchange, but what it's coming down to is that white has maybe prepared this, had already prepared this line, or just simply calculated deeper. White comes out ahead in just a few moves. Considered best is to immediately recapture the knight, and considered the best as a follow-up is to get out of this pin, get out of this fork idea. Okay. In this game, it's knight takes bishop, queen takes knight. Black is able to win the exchange now with knight g3, king g1, knight takes rook, and there's a really strong move now for white. So I'll throw it to you as a pop quiz. We're 16 moves in, 35 move game. White is close to being the better side. There is a best move. Can you spot it? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, best move is to withdraw the knight. Not just to any square. c2, where it keeps an eye on any possibility here, cuts out any idea black may have of pivoting on e1 with the queen. So the knight is saved on c2. What's the story then with this guy? Well, black follows with knight takes h2, and from this square, where exactly does it go? Black is kind of stuck. This knight will eventually be won now. On this move 18, we have queen to e3, and there's really only one try left in the computer's eyes by black in this position, and he does not come up with it. In the game, Nepomniachtchi castles. Considered best in this position is to play the move. Well, let me throw it to you as a pop quiz. Let's see if you could find this one. Best move for black is what? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, not the easiest one to find. You ready? G5. Looks pretty bizarre. Can't that pawn be won? 2 attackers, only 1 defender? Well, it's poison. Considered best as a reply to G5 would be E5, opening up the position, trying to get at the uncastled king. If you take the pawn as white, black would be winning, because the G file is now half opened and there are tricks. What's the trick? Chop, chop, and the knight is rescued by simply taking on F3. And these guys are on the same file. Rook G8, etc. You defend, H6, F6. Okay, so that's a really clever move. Not found, though. In the game, we have castles. And so now what it's coming down to is just address the remaining pieces that are in my camp. Offer a queen exchange. Safeguard my king. Then I could direct my attention to that weak point D6. So some accuracy here. How exactly do you challenge the queen? You could go to any one of these 3 squares. One of them is losing, though. All 3 challenge the queen, but one does not take a key idea into account. The losing move would be queen H6 in this position, because the queen does not watch over G3 from H6. It would allow black to sacrifice the knight, play queen G3, take the pawn with check next. The position is collapsing. White's position is collapsing. The best move is to challenge the queen, watch over G3, and also allow the bishop to be deployed on its favorite diagonal. Where's the favorite diagonal of the bishop? This one right here, because it would immediately put pressure on the weakest pawn, D6. And so the way we do this is with queen G5. From here we have knight takes F3, pawn takes knight, queen H3. White does not bother watching over this pawn. He gets right on the weak point. Bishop takes F4. Queen takes F3. It seems like an invasive piece, but she's not tied in with any other piece. It was scary when there was still a bishop on D4, a knight on H5. There are no knights now. It's just the queen, and she could, again, she's not tied in with any other black piece right now. White gets more development in. Black actually has to be the one who's careful at this point. I was not joking when I said that that was black's best piece on D4. If, let's say, the queen plays here in this position, and when we have rook there, queen here, watch out. You might get mated really soon on the dark squares, on G7. So basically at this point, it's black who now has to pursue a queen exchange. We have F6. And from here, taking the queen is poison. Knight takes queen, pawn takes queen would come, and then these two are skewered. Black will get the piece back. Black will soon be up the exchange. So a nice move by Liren. What does he play? Queen takes G6, and only then captures the queen. This ensures that the F file will not be ripped open. This pawn does not have the option to make a capture. So now it's just a matter of technique. This is completely winning for white. It has been completely winning after, what move was it? After G5 was not spotted. After castles, move 18 castles, it was considered winning for white. From here, it's just a matter of collecting this pawn and pushing this pawn. So from here, bishop G4, knight D2. There really isn't a way to save this guy. If some other move was played besides bishop G4, rook to D8, Could be met with knight to e3. That's a nice improvement, with an eye on c4 next, and it could only ever be defended once, and it's not fun to allocate a rook to the defense of the pawn. So this guy is a goner one way or the other. Just a matter of time. Knight d2, king improvement, counterattack against the bishop. That pawn falls. Bishop is gone. 2 minor pieces versus the rook. Yeah, but soon this arrangement, bishop on c7, pawn on d6, is already worth a rook. So it's almost like white is playing up a full knight by this point. Knight gets into c4, rook takes bishop. You know, this is coming with d7, so there really isn't anything to try here as black. So after knight c4, rook takes bishop. One final move, most accurate, not to take the rook in this case, but instead flick in the check. And it's at this point black resigns. It's precise to throw in the check first. The idea is to next take the rook, and after the pawn is captured, now the knight could go here with check, go here next, pick up the pawn, and also be there defending the e4 pawn. But this one goes no further. Knight b6. Nepomniachtchi throws in the towel. So a very high-level game by Liren in this one. Let's have a look at the tail of the tape on this. There we go, and we can see just how accurate Liren was. 92% accuracy for Nepomniachtchi. No inaccuracies, mistakes, or blunders for Liren. 3 inaccuracies, 1 mistake by Nepomniachtchi. So we will see what the 2023 World Championship has for us. Anyhow, feel free, as usual, to leave any feedback to this video in the comments section below. Hope you enjoyed it, and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care.